All right. Well, good afternoon, folks, or good morning if you're joining us from the West Coast. We are the Wave Warriors, and we are here for our Tuesday get together. Just talk about some of the important things that we're addressing right now with the Salish Center for Sustainable Fishing. And I have Exec Director Mr. Larry Mellon with us today. So, welcome, Larry.
Well, thank you for having me, Rachel. It's good to see you as always.
Absolutely. And we decided today, we were thinking, what should we talk about today? Last week, we had a great session with our resident artist, AC Hart, and we talked all about kind of Tokate and the story behind Tokate and the way that we're handling the outreach. But today we thought we would talk a little bit about who we're actually reaching out to and who we're really hoping to engage. And that is young people. So I figured we would just start with a little statistic today. So the United Nations is reporting that as of right now, 59% of young adults say that they are extremely worried about climate change. And more than 45% said their feelings about climate change negatively impacted their daily life and their functioning. So this generation, these young people, I don't know whether we're calling them millennials or zillennials at this point, but they care deeply and they are hyper aware of the problem. Where do we even begin to address this?
Well, certainly the problem is upon us. I mean, you see it every day with, the last month and seemingly every month that we get into is the warmest month on record and those sorts of things. It's a worldwide problem. It's not just one that's local here to deal with. That said, what we're doing also is with Salish Center is to have an impact on the global warming and climate change in our own way to try and solve some of the issues that people are going to face in the future. And the younger generation are the people who are going to have that opportunity to hopefully resolve these problems. We can get the programs started and hopefully get people on a path that can help resolve some of the things that we deal with here in the Pacific Northwest and the Salish Sea.
So we're talking kind of hyper local in terms of the problem that we're aiming to solve, and the problem is these magnificent southern resident orcas are endangered because of their food sources dwindling and their conditions that they live in are also dwindling as well. But what we're addressing here is a much broader, more far-reaching issue, affecting ecosystems around the world. But from a very hyper-local standpoint, you penned a beautiful op-ed that is circulating with the press. We're waiting for someone to pick it up. So if you're media and you want to pick this up, definitely let us know. But you talked very specifically about the impact and the human impact and what we've done to this ecosystem. Would you go into a little bit of detail about that?
Sure. Yeah. The way that I look at it is we're here to try and resolve issues with the Southern Resident Orcas. The Southern Resident Orcas are the heart and soul of this region, and they are starving, oddly enough, and they have lived here since time eternal, and they are starving because of what we as humans have done in moving into and developing in this region. And I don't think anybody came here with the idea in mind that we were going to develop this region at the expense of the natural world. But as things have progressed, it has sort of evolved into that situation. So, for example, we clear cut the forests, and clear cutting the forest to provide jobs and opportunities for us, and we used the wood that was cut from the forest for developing and for building structures and building homes across the country and frankly the world. Was it a good thing? Well, at the time we thought it was a good thing, but we didn't realize that what the impact of that would be for the natural world. what it ended up doing is it put a lot of silt and mud and dirt into what was the natal spawning grounds for our salmon population, which is the specific food source of our southern resident orcas. Well, over time, we began to realize, well, something's wrong here. Well, but we didn't realize it at the time. We built dams, many dams. It was one of the great projects of the late 50s and early 60s to build this great water system within the Columbia River system. 31 dams were built, and then additional dams on the Snake River. Well, those dams were built for us to use hydroelectric power, which is a very inexpensive way of heating our homes and heating the region. The Bonneville Power Authority, which is the lower dam on the Columbia River, has been used to power everything on the entire West Coast all the way to Los Angeles. We built, some of the other dams were built for irrigation purposes to create what was a desert in central Washington is now farmland that goes for miles and miles and miles, all at the providing great opportunity for us at the expense again of the natural world, where salmon can't get to their natal streams. There's 1,000 miles of Columbia River, and most of which became waters that the salmon couldn't get to because of these dams. We created passageways for them, and they're called fish. Anyway,
ladders, right? That's something
yeah.
like fish ladders. Yeah.
Yeah, to allow the salmon to get upstream through most of the dams, but not all of them. And so we were able to get some of this stuff done for them to get to some of the natal areas, but then they have to come downstream on their way out. Well, they don't know about these passageways to get downstream, and many of them end up going over the spillways of these dams and die in the process. So then there's the Snake River. It has 4 dams on the Snake River. It's the same thing. They were developed to allow for the farmers to transport their product on barges down these rivers. It provided recreational opportunities for people to go water skiing and fishing and all the things in camping, and all for us. But it was also at the expense of the natural world. So these are the kinds of things that we've come to realize, and we came to realize these things primarily because of the Southern Resident Orcas. They began being captured in the 60s and 70s. We knew very little about them before then. We were capturing them and sending them to marine land and seaquariums, where they became circus animals to leap and perform and do all these sorts of things. Once we began to realize the deep culture that these animals have, and their intelligence and their community and what they represent in this world, in this area that we live, we began to realize that these guys are really, really something. And the fact that we are now starving them to death because of the things that we have done to develop this region, turn this area into an incredible opportunity to try and transform this place and to change it in a way that we can, allow the orcas to survive. We can redevelop the salmon streams and redevelop this region in a way that is more a benefit to the natural world rather than a detriment. And that's what we're trying to do at Salish Center.
You've shared some stories with me, and Riley has shared stories about encountering an orca, a Southern Resident Orca, in person. And I think I haven't had that privilege yet, but I feel like everybody who has had that privilege absolutely lights up when they talk about it. Can you? What do you think that is? Could you tell us what that experience was like for
I
you?
think what we've, because of what we've learned, and then you see them in the waters, and you hear about some of the things that they do, and a lot of it just, I mean, it's brings me to tears sometimes. I hate to say, but it's really true. What I have a business that I own, Pike Place Chowder, that's been an incredibly successful business, and it's related to the it's a seafood restaurant, and we don't take a lot from this area's waters, but because we're a seafood restaurant in Seattle, Washington, the sea is a very, very important piece of the puzzle to our success. And we certainly use our Dungeness crab. We use our salmon that is harvested sustainably. And, primarily it's chowders and that sort of thing. So we have benefited mightily from being where we are and being at the location that we are. And my thought years ago was, we need to start giving back and start looking at ways that we can, help this region in a manner that, we haven't had the opportunity to do previously. And that time came when Talequa, one of the Southern Resident Orca mothers, about 5 or 6 years ago, carried on her nose her deceased baby. And she did it for 17 days and 1,000 miles. And at that point in time, I realized, this is what we need to do. We need to work on their survival and work on what the problems that we have caused them. And I have learned so much since then about these guys and about the orcas, and really the role that they play here, and the importance of the salmon that have been here forever, that are in sharp decline because of the things that we've done, the clear cutting of the forests, the dams that we've created, the culverts that we've built that don't allow the fish to get through the over the under the roadways and around the roadways, and the reality is this region is going to continue to grow because it's a beautiful place, and the human population isn't going to change, but we can change the outcome here by marrying what we do as human beings with the natural world. We can do things that can solve these problems. But we're the people who can start this, but it's really the future generations that have the opportunity to see these plans through.
Yep.
For example, we no longer clear cut the forest. So that problem is to some degree been solved. We now are in the process of replanting most of the forests that we have, and cutting the forests in a manner that is a little bit less intrusive. The dams, many of the dams could be removed. In fact, one of the dams was removed about 10 years ago on the Elwha River. And what has been an incredible story of resurgence is the salmon population salmon running up that river now has grown exponentially. Salmon have an amazing ability to survive and to take care of themselves if they're given that opportunity. So if you look at several of the dams, the people talk about the lower dams on the Snake River. Well, as things go along, as the future in the future, I think we will see that. Do we really need hydroelectric power? Will solar power be the source that we need? Will wind farms be a source that we can utilize? And there are a myriad of other things that could be utilized. We're talking now about even the ocean waves creating power and energy. But anyway, these are things that I think as we, continue to evolve as people and evolve if as people and have the opportunity to maybe take a look at some of these things. Hydroelectric power was inexpensive, but now wind power and solar power have become far less expensive than they were 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Take it from here 20 to 30 years in the future to think where we might be then. And there might be a myriad of other things. Nuclear power is everybody's afraid of, but it's used all over the world, and it's very, very inexpensive.
Right.
We have that opportunity. Irrigation. In Arizona, of all places, maybe it's the right place.
In the desert. Yeah.
They are recycling water. Not water to drink necessarily, but water for other purposes. Why wouldn't we be able to utilize recycled water to irrigate these farms that we've allowed to be created in these desert areas of central Washington? Certainly seems to me that we will be able to, create opportunities in these areas that certainly aren't available right now, but I think they will be. And I think people, and particularly young people, will have that opportunity to see these things through.
Mm-hmm. So, I was thinking about this, these statistics about 70% plus of young people are concerned. And, so many of them are finding, 45% said their feelings negatively impact their daily life. And I think it is a macro problem, right? It's a global problem. And I think what can happen when you are facing such a monumental issue is that people just feel like their contribution is pointless. Like there's nothing that we can do. And that's, one of the reasons why we are very hyper local in our focus, and why we really want young people, especially kind of 9 and 10-year-olds, right? Around that age, as they're coming kind of preteen, getting into, forming their interests and really understanding a little bit more about what they stand for. That's why we're really focusing on this age group, is because we believe that by showing them this deep connection to the creatures themselves, that they will take that into their adult life. Maybe they will take a path that leads them into the scientific fields where they'll work on tangible solutions. So, as much as people are seeing this beautiful artwork and this playful nature of what we're doing and the storytelling, it's as serious as a heart attack. Like there's a reason why we're focusing on this, younger population.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, as I've said, I think we look at things that we can start, but we are not the ones to finish. And we're trying to engage young people in a manner which is one playful with the Adopt the Orca program that we have. The stories that come along with the Adopt the Orca program are fun and interesting, but it really is a starting point to engage them with the natural world and how, as I've stated maybe too many times, that we've done things, in spite of, our surroundings, instead of trying to do things with our surroundings and make the whole region and whole area work congruously together. So we're not damaging the future for people or for animals or for the world we live in. But it's going to take several years, maybe even decades to get there. And that's why this idea of the 9 and 10-year-olds, because I don't know, I remember when I was 9 or 10 years old that you became sort of fascinated with things that, up until that point in time, maybe we didn't really think about. But it is a time of learning then that your mind has started to think about stuff. And we think that it's the time and the opportunity to educate people on the issues that we face, yes, do it in a playful and fun way, but also to get them to understand that it's their chance. It's their chance to make this happen and make a change, and to be able to see this thing through would be just remarkable. And anyway, that's my thought.
It's, you mentioned the Adopt an Orca program. For those who are watching, you will see the ticker across the bottom giving you the information on where you can do that. So how it works is if you're a business owner or you have a brand and you would like to partner as with your business, you can join us for $100 a month, and each month you will receive an orca story, beautiful artwork digitally created by AC Hart. You'll also get some stats on that particular whale, its pod, its relatives, etc. And you'll be a part of a community that we're building to really make substantial change in the region. But if you're just an individual and you would like to help as well, you can do that for $20 a month. And that contribution is going to allow us to do three things. We are going to be working on essentially funding scientific research by those who are doing incredible work already. We are partnering with Oceans Initiative.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more about them in a second. It will also allow us to create programming to take into schools where we can directly impact and inspire 9 and 10-year-olds. We're already working with teachers in the Bainbridge, not Bainbridge. We're working with teachers in
Bellingham.
Thank you. It was a B. It came to me. We're working on programming, working on outreach to actually bring those programs into schools, and just also looking at reef netting as an alternative to commercial fishing. So potentially funding materials, training, etc. for future reef netters to actually we're not going to completely change the fishing industry overnight, but if we can make a small dent in the ocean, if we can make a small contribution by training more reef netters, we believe that will help to solve the problem for the southern resident orcas. So
it's much longer story to try to tell, but just all you need to know about reef net fishing is it's the most sustainable fishing practice that there is, because it creates no bycatch. You don't catch fish that you're not supposed to catch. And it's been practiced by the indigenous people here in the Northwest for 1,800 years. So we're hoping to be able to bring it back to a level that it can create some of the solutions that we're looking to find.
Yep. So adoptorca.org or .com, wherever you want to do it. It's fully tax deductible. We are a 501c3 as Salish Center for Sustainable Fishing. So Wave Warriors is a part of that nonprofit. So we would truly love your support. Any final thoughts, Larry, on how why we believe that young people are the future in terms of, conservation in the region, and perhaps some actionable, tangible steps that young people and maybe parents can take to put this into action?
Well, I just think that if they have the opportunity to kind of engage themselves with our organization, with the Adopt an Orca program and whatnot, they can talk with their parents about what they're buying, about what they're doing, and about maybe things that can be more sustainable than what their practices might be currently. They have the opportunity to educate us, educate the parents, and educate the future. And the more that we can get out to the young people, the better. And so we're hoping that we can engage. Frankly, our goal is to try and engage 10,000 families. And that would not just be in this region; it would be around the world, because the problems that we have here, the climate change issues, or just the local issues of overdevelopment, overfishing, overdoing this, overdoing that, are not just local problems. They're worldwide problems, and ones that we think that we can provide maybe a blueprint of how to get there, or have an opportunity to show people this can work. And that's what we've always tried to strive to do, is we can make a change here, but it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of education, and the people that we feel have that opportunity to really make a quantum leap from where we are in the 9 and 10-year-old age group, and in beyond, but that's where the opportunity lies. So.
Yes. Can you touch on Oceans Initiative a little? Why we've decided that that is our kind of beneficiary partner for 24?
Sure, they have for several decades actually been involved in research of the Southern Resident Orcas, and their research goes into all kinds of different areas. One of which they're applying for a grant right now to see the impact that reef net fishing can have on the orca population. The fact that you get rid of all the bycatch that you would see in other fishing practices that are here, and to show that this method is something for the future and something that we need to reconsider in this region of how we're going about capturing and catching salmon. Riley Starks, our executive director, he would tell you that it's not an issue of we shouldn't catch salmon or fish for salmon. We should, but because an overpopulated salmon run that would go into the rivers would be detrimental to those rivers and so on. So, but if it's managed correctly, where we can, catch the fish that we're supposed to catch, not overcatch fish, not kill some of the species that we want to try to have survive. Those are things that the research will tell us that we have the opportunity to resolve. And Oceans Initiative is right in the middle of all of this, and they are looking at not only reef net fishing, but also looking at other things. They even collect feces from orcas to find out what they're eating and if what sort of issues they may be facing, today, and hopefully find solutions for those things. And one of them is reef net fishing, and they're very interested in seeing how this all works.
Amazing. All right, folks, if you have enjoyed this broadcast, or if you know somebody who could really benefit from learning what we're building here at the Wave Warriors, please do share this, hit the subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube. We are going to be doing these weekly. We will take a small break over the holidays, but we will be updating you on our progress and hopefully welcoming some guests and experts from the region as well to talk on this topic. But for now, we are going to close it up. And thank you, Larry, for this very thoughtful conversation.
Thank you for having me. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yes, happy holidays, folks.